All right, chapter 6 of Llama Pajamas with Susan Clymer, Walks Silently. And there we have the llama, and we're here in beautiful Machu Picchu reading about llamas. I awakened the next morning to the sound of Dad's soft snoring. Thank goodness he'd never fall asleep in class. The kids would tease him for sure. And then I realized I couldn't hear any wind outside. No creaks, no groans. We hadn't blown away in the night. I crawled out of the tent in my pajamas and I slipped on my boots to check the llamas. I shuffled out of our tent grove. I could see one proud gray head with a dark star on the forehead. Blue Star was there. What about Compo? I ran forward into our llama's meadow and saw two stiff tan ears. The llamas are both safe, I yelled. Dad groaned sleepily from the tent. Compo was lying down, so his long neck made him only about my height. I found the bag of grain and fed Blue Star a double handful. Compo stood up nervously as I came close. His lips tickled my hands. When he finished eating, he snuffled the top of my head. I looked up at him, startled. Could this mean he was beginning to like me? He had big buck teeth on his bottom jaw and pretty long white eyelashes. I talked to him while he chewed. And here's just a tip for you. Llamas are like people, and if you feed them, they will like you. Good boy, Compo Computer. I wish I had a skinny long neck so I could be tall like you. A stick crackled behind me. I turned to see Mom in her long underwear, taking my picture. Then I looked down and noticed that flowers surrounded my boots, hundreds of them shimmering in the sun. I spread my arms and twirled around in amazement. Compo watched me suspiciously. Right then, Mom declared that second day a rest day. She set off gleefully with her wildflower book. After breakfast, Dad and I collected water. I held the intake tube of our filter in the deep water of the stream while Dad pumped the handle up and down. Clean, drinkable water dribbled into our pan. Birds chirped around me. What do you call a llama with a baby? I asked, leaning against Dad's knee. Dad ruffled my hair. What milkshake? A llama, Mama, I exclaimed. And I want to point out to you what the author just did there. The author described what was going on, right? They said when? After breakfast. What? They collected water. How? They held the intake tube of the filter in the deep water of the stream and pumped the handle up and down, right? What? The drinkable water dribbled into the pan. And then notice the 5 sentences. The birds chirped around me. So the things that they're hearing, the things that they're seeing, the things that they're saying. Dad chuckled as he filtered a water bottle for each of us. We lugged our biggest pans back to camp full of water for dinner. This sure was a harder morning chore than making my bed at home. Dad and I moved the llamas across the stream to a fresh, tasty patch of grass. Then we set off to explore. Dad wanted to climb to the top of the rocky knoll we had passed yesterday. I had to scramble up the steep boulders using both my hands and feet. When I crawled, panting, up over the top of the knoll, I could hear our stream in the valley way beneath me, looking like a curving snake. More and more mountains rose in the distance. See, again, more description. Powerful tool in the right author's hands. I imagined myself as a Native American girl who had come into the mountains to collect eagle feathers. Walks silently. That's what my name would be. I would be dressed in a deerskin dress with hundreds of beads. Dad pointed, his eyes bright. One finger covered his lips. I stood up on my rock and leaned out into space to see. Dad slipped his arm around my waist. Right beneath us, at the bottom of the knoll, was a golden animal. Excuse me, with a fluffy tail and ears that perked up. Coyote, Dad whispered in my ear. My heart had pounded. I'd never seen a coyote before. The coyote didn't look very different from a dog, except that it was skinny. Nope, not working. And very scruffy, maybe even hungry. What if the coyote eats the llamas? I exclaimed loudly. The coyote froze, then darted away into the brush. The llamas are safe, Dad answered, sighing. Gary said so. Coyotes eat little animals like mice and rabbits. You know, Sarah, I'll bet her den's underneath us in the rocks. Why, that coyote might even have babies right now. I scrambled down the knoll to tell Mom, Dad following behind me. We found Mom reading her wildflower book, nibbling on dried cherries with her feet in the stream. We all told coyote stories and ate a lunch of peanut butter and cream cheese on raisin bread. Food sure tasted better outside. Soon all I could hear was the sound of the water and Dad turning pages in his book. I didn't feel like reading. Too bad my computer wasn't here. I built a rock dam in the stream. Then I floated sticks over the tiny waterfall. We untethered the llamas and headed back to camp, Dad leading the way with Blue Star. I was creeping along in the back with Mom, pretending to walk silently, stalking an eagle's nest. When Compo started making a strange moaning sound, Mom patted him on the shoulder and he didn't give her his usual kingly look. Dad waved at us to hurry. I tiptoed toward him. He mouthed, pointing. Across the brushy creek stood the biggest animal I'd ever seen. If I'd been any younger, I would have crawled right up into Dad's arms. The moose had a gigantic rack of antlers. He wasn't any farther away than the length of our hallway at home. I hid behind Dad. Mom joined us, her knuckles white from gripping Compo's rope. A nice, safe sighting, Dad whispered. Compo stared at the moose, moaning louder like an upset cow. I wondered how anything that big could be considered safe. The brown moose raised his heavy head from nibbling on the brush to stare at me. Gary had told us at the beginning of the trip that moose sometimes charged people if you threatened them or bothered their babies. My hair rose on the back of my neck. I was used to people being the most powerful, but that wasn't true here. I was used to cars being about the biggest danger. Cars wouldn't run over me out here, but a moose might. Compo moaned again, this time a high-pitched bleat. I agree, fellow, Mom said, and turned to lead Compo up the hill toward the camp. I stayed with Dad for a moment and then raced after Mom so fast that I surprised Compo and he half dragged Mom up the hillside. Poor Compo must have thought I was that moose. When I caught up, I sunk my hand deep into the fur on his shoulder. He looked down at me and I could almost imagine him saying, "There's a monster down there at the creek." I figured Mom would be mad. Instead, she hugged me tightly, her eyes shining with excitement. Isn't the wilderness marvelous? Our arms around each other, we looked back at Dad, still standing in the same spot, as motionless as a tree. I could suddenly see the word wilderness as if it were written on my computer screen. Wilderness started with the word wild. Wilderness started with the word wild. This land certainly was wild. I had seen a coyote and a moose all in one day. I had a shivery feeling inside, a strong feeling. Both of the animals had given me goosebumps on my goosebumps, but they fascinated me too. So I found myself wondering, what would it be like to be wild?